Hi, welcome back. I am very glad to welcome Dr. Arata here today, and he's going to talk to us about cognitive decline. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. So, Doctor, let's talk about the signs of cognitive decline. I know it runs in my family, and this is a subject that's very personal to me.
Sure, absolutely. I think one of the earliest indication that there may be a problem is forgetfulness, misplacing things, and I think most of us are familiar with the fact that sometimes we forget where our keys are, as an example. Other times we may forget things like important events that happened recently. Generally speaking, long-term memory is preserved for most of the cognitive conditions that occur. So childhood memories, things like that, usually are not a problem, usually.
Yes.
But what you did yesterday for lunch, for example, that may be something that escapes you. And other areas where it can be a problem are recognizing people you meet, facial recognition, confusion with normal day-to-day tasks, not knowing how to load the dishwasher, for example. And then calculation-related things. So, for example, you might go out to dinner and you get the bill, and it's a little harder to get the tip calculated than it used to be.
Yes.
So these are everyday signs that there may be a problem with your brain. And if you think about 50 years ago, this country had a huge initiative regarding the heart.
Yes.
And so a lot of awareness and public education was invested in the early indications of a problem with your heart, a heart attack. And so I think most people understand if you have chest pain, in particular if it's radiating down your left arm, you might have a problem with your heart. I think most people understand that. I don't think people understand that there's just as common and recognizable problem with your brain.
Yes.
We talk about forgetting your keys.
Yeah.
And that should be a clue that there may be something going on with your brain, and it would be a good idea to get checked.
Are some of these signs also navigational in nature? I mean, you're driving somewhere, you forgot where you parked the car, any of those things?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's very diverse in terms of the types of declines that can occur with our cognition.
Yes.
And so there are patterns, and we certainly look for some of those to kind of help us to figure out what's going on. But any of these issues can be a sign of a problem.
Are some of those patterns determined by testing? What kind of testing is there
It's a great
for
question.
this kind of cognitive?
Yeah, so one of the issues with this that's been problematic in the past is that a lot of the characterization of the problem is based on history with the physician. And there is some subjective nature to that. Fortunately, technology has been advancing steadily, and there are tests that can be done which are more objective and quantifiable.
Yes.
And actually detect things much earlier than you would, just by having a physical and history with a physician. So yeah, there are tests.
That's wonderful. Is there a medicine that could help with this kind of decline, or what can be done?
Unfortunately, no. So particularly when you look at Alzheimer's, there's not been a medication that's been found to actually treat it. Perhaps mild, brief, couple-month type of improvements, but they just don't persist and last. So medicines really are not available that can treat Alzheimer's. Fortunately, a researcher, a researcher from UCLA has been studying Alzheimer's for almost 30 years, and he has applied functional medicine, which is basically systems biology,
yes,
and used that to try to ascertain what are the parameters that put someone at risk for this, and in the hopes that he can find reversible ones. Mm-hmm. And in fact, he did. And so Dr. Bredesen, Dale Bredesen, is an incredible man that I think is really going to change not only the cognition aspect of medicine, but actually bringing functional medicine to the forefront. Because the real key here is that traditional approaches to illness, acute illness, is a characterization by what is it?
Right.
Do you have an infection? Are you bleeding? Well, that is a fantastic way to address acute problems, but for chronic illness, it really doesn't meet the standard we need. And so approach where you say, why is it?
Oh.
Actually works really well for chronic illness. And that's the approach that Dr. Bredesen has taken. And then he's used a computerized program to analyze all these variables. In fact, there's over 100 variables that get plugged into the RECODE report, which is what we use. I'm a Bredesen certified physician, and this is a tool we use.
Yes.
So it is systematic, and you identify those parameters that are unique to the individual. So it's a personalized approach that focuses on preventable and or lifestyle treatable conditions. So for example, vitamin B12. extremely common for it to be deficient as we get older in particular.
Yes.
And yet it is critical for the brain to have, sufficient or even better optimal B12 levels.
And so Dr. Bredesen, and you are Bredesen certified,
Yes.
He defines not only this protocol, but also a lifestyle change.
That's right. And he's now had several publications demonstrating the efficacy. So the initial one was quite a shock. People just did not, they did not expect that just lifestyle changes could actually reverse Alzheimer's.
What are some of the some of the perks of the lifestyle changes?
Sure.
What are some of these?
So I would say one of the most important things that gets neglected, if you will, in our culture is sleep.
Oh, true.
Sleep is critical for the brain. And so whether you are dealing with Alzheimer's itself or if you're at risk for Alzheimer's, optimizing your sleep really pays dividends. So that's a very fundamental thing.
Yes.
The other thing is good nutrition.
Yes.
Okay, and I think all of us are aware of the benefits of eating a healthy diet.
Of course.
That tends to be a problem with the behavior change because it's just so easy to follow the TV commercials on what I should eat, right? I mean, they just overwhelm us. Well, we use coaching as a way to deal with that because, in particular, I think with what we eat and how we eat, it really is a behavioral thing, it's a cultural thing, it's a ritual. There's so many layers, and a coach helps you work through those because it's difficult to change how you eat.
It is, and it's difficult to change lifestyle. You're saying what we have always heard: get good sleep, good food, get some exercise, drink lots of water.
Yeah.
But sometimes you might think, I'm coasting along, I think I'm doing this okay, but the coaching that you offer really does bring more of these things to light.
Absolutely, and it's actually fundamental to lifestyle medicine. And as you so eloquently just described, most of us know exactly what we should do to be healthy. I mean, it's not that, it's not that complex and difficult, but it is complex and difficult to put into action consistently.
And to quantify it.
Yes.
You really think, what? I'm getting, 5 hours of sleep, and
Right.
that's enough, I'm operating, but you're really not.
No, in fact, at 5 hours sleep, you're essentially drunk.
Oh boy.
That's the effect. It's the equivalent of, having 3 or 4 drinks.
Oh my goodness.
And yet, we have situations where people are, driving our bus or driving our plane or even operating on us and effectively being drunk.
Oh Lord, that's
So-
very, that really brings it to light.
Yes.
That's a great simile right there to set the example.
Right.
So the lifestyle coaching that you offer helps people come alongside of this effort to be the most healthy person they can be.
Yes.
Now tell me, doctor, about what are the advantages of catching this early on?
That's a great question. So what Bredesen found with his studies was that you could actually reverse cognitive decline, even to the point whereas with Alzheimer's and even advanced Alzheimer's, patients could improve. But the patients that did best were those earlier in the progression. So certainly catching things early is important. And,
Yes.
and in fact, for Alzheimer's and specifically Alzheimer's, that's probably the most important thing. Other than prevention. Now, prevention is kind of it's almost a dirty word. No one wants to talk about it. It's just one of these things like, but when it comes to your brain, I think prevention is probably one of the best things you can do.
Well, you have a better chance than of improving if you catch it earlier.
Yes,
So through the prevention, this is one of the better things you can do.
absolutely.
Well, that's terrific. And doctor, about your practice, you're so close to us here at Laguna Woods.
Yes. So our practice is 1 block from John Wayne Airport. And I understand that's fairly easy to get to for most of the residents. And we'd be happy to meet with any of them and see what we can do to help.
Well, as I said, this condition does run in my family, and I'm 56 years old. What's the earliest that someone like me should be looking for signs?
Good question. I would say that prevention should start the moment you're aware of it. So there's no time that's too early for prevention. As far as when you should start being concerned, it's one of these things where there's different types. So Alzheimer's actually is probably more than one condition. And there is in particular several of the subtypes which tend to be earlier. Now, one of them is if you have genetic risks.
Yes.
And so if you happen to do things which are becoming more common, like 23andMe, for example, where you look at your genetics.
23andMe.
23andMe, it's a consumer-based gene analysis.
Oh, wonderful.
And you can actually get your risk for Alzheimer's, at least a couple of the parameters. If you're found to have increased risk in your 30s, I think you should really start addressing this. The other is an inflammatory subtype. So there is a type of Alzheimer's that is actually part of our immune system as far as what drives it. It hits in the 40s to early 50s,
Yes.
so much younger than we would expect. And that is one where if you're having these issues, forgetting where your keys are in your 40s, that's a little unusual, and that should really kind of have some alarms going off in your head that I need to get checked.
And these conditions, Alzheimer's and any cognitive decline, really does affect family members. So how can family members come alongside of a loved one if they begin to see the signs? What should they do?
Fantastic question. This is a condition that, first of all, is terminal. People know people that are survivors of cancer, but you really can't name someone that's survived Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And as a result, it's going to impact the family. Maybe not as much early on, but eventually it's going to be a consuming condition for the entire family.
Yes.
And caregivers are a critical component of this. And so again, it's one of these things, the earlier you can identify this, the better. So if you notice that mom or dad or even aunts and uncles are not quite right with their thinking, they're forgetful, they're confused, things of this nature, that's when you as a family member and a loved one can make a big difference and encourage that individual to get evaluated.
This evaluation could be very helpful for people my age as well. I mean,
Oh, sure.
If we're
Yeah.
not getting enough sleep and we're just not able to take care of ourselves the way we should,
Yes.
it would be a good time to come to see you and be evaluated.
Absolutely. And the important thing to understand is it's not just your brain that benefits from lifestyle, it's everything.
And everyone.
Yes.
It's everything about you, but of course everyone in your world, in your family, in your workplace, everyone benefits from you taking the extra steps to take good care of yourself.
That's right. And we are all connected, and that's an important aspect of what we do, is that connection piece.
I think the connection piece is what really stands out about your practice, that it's more than just a medicinal practice or an in-office practice. It's all about lifestyle coming in to be a part of what you do to help people out.
Absolutely.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for being with us today. We love having you here, and this is wonderful news for the folks for here at the Village.
Great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for being with us today. We'll be right back with Ken just after this.